Hey, young lions. Do you ever have a really bad day? I had one a couple of days ago, and quite frankly, I'm a little bit embarrassed to even tell you about it. But if my pain can actually help you down the road when you go through one of these, I think it's worth getting out there and actually sharing this with you. I've got a lot of things going on in my life right now. One of which was I had to get all of my taxes together for two companies that I run and my personal taxes too, and ended up going to the CPA yesterday and spending quite a few hours with them. But I had to get all this prepared earlier this week. And so the morning that I woke up, I had a lot of things on my list that had to get done that day. And I also knew that I had to get these taxes done within the next couple of days. And so, quite frankly, the word that came to mind was I was feeling overwhelmed, just overwhelmed. And it was a little bit depressing, to be quite frank with you. And so getting started that morning, I just wasn't in a real good mood. And, sometimes we just go down these paths. So I knew that I had to change the way that I was thinking to actually make things work out. The very first thing I did when I realized what was happening up here was I went and got down on my knees and I prayed. Not that that's funny, but I kind of felt like I needed God's help at that point. And there's a Proverb 3 verses 5 and 6, which says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight." And I needed a straight path that day. Okay, I got up. I can't tell you that God automatically just made me feel better. And so what I did next was I chose to share this with someone. And the person that I chose to share it with was my wife, who, my partner, the love of my life. And I didn't want to go talk to her because I felt like not manly in saying that I wasn't having a good day. But I went into the kitchen and basically told her that I was feeling overwhelmed and depressed that day. And I didn't know what she was going to say, but what she did was she looked at me, she smiled, she came over, she just put her arms around me. And it was just awesome, really nice. And it felt like part of the burden went away when I actually shared that, which men, we don't like to do that. And that's something that can really help you quite a bit to share that burden. A few minutes later, my telephone rang, and it was one of my best friends, a guy named Steve. And Steve was just calling to see how things were going. And I said, "Steve, it sucks. I'm having a bad day. I'm overwhelmed and all." And he started laughing. He goes, "Man, I live in the world of overwhelm." And so we shared that. And again, part of it came off of me. And Steve took that burden from me as a friend. Okay. The next thing that I did was I started looking at, I know the most important thing that I could do was get the taxes done, and then I could start working on everything else. But I had a lot of things on that list that day. So I made a few phone calls, sent a few texts and a few emails, and I basically asked people if we could postpone for a day what needed to be done. Everybody came back and said no problem whatsoever. And so what I really did was I cleared up my day just to work on taxes that day. Another thing that I knew was where I usually work was not going to be conducive to work because I wasn't in that sort of a mood. And so I chose to change my location. And what I did was we have a large 12-foot rustic cherry, really pretty dining room table in our dining room. And I took everything up there to the dining room, different location, made me feel good, spread everything out. And then what I did was I broke it down into 7 steps. I looked at everything that needed to be done and listed them out in order. Then what I did was I started on number 1. There's the old Nike saying, just do it. I'm going to change that and say, only do it. In other words, I didn't let anything else get in the way that day. I only did the taxes until the taxes were complete. Now, I'm not going to tell you I had a good time because I don't like doing taxes. It's real similar to getting your wisdom teeth pulled out, and that's the way it felt to me that day. But by about 4:30 that day, I had everything completely done, and I really felt great. And the last step that I did was I looked at how did I let myself get into this situation, and what can I do later to stop that from happening again? And I wrote out a few things in my journal that will help me. So I want you to think about this. Number one, pray. Number two, share the burden with somebody else. It's okay, men, to actually share. Then clear everything else. Number three, move to a different location to get your work done just that day when you're having those bad days. Break things down into smaller pieces and then only do the work until you knock it out. And you're going to feel good. Hope that helps. You folks have a great day.